Welcome back to another episode. You join me this time in my small little workshop, pretty much my garage, to install some new accessories on my new front runner roof rack. Last episode you would have seen me down at Rybuck Engineering, where we installed a false floor in the back of the vehicle, accommodating a 110 mAh lithium battery from Kangoe. We also installed the new front runner roof rack with the mounting rails for the Mahindra Scorpio, which I'm told is the first prototype of its version. Lucky me. Once we finished installing these two products, we jumped over to their showroom, which is called 4am Outdoors. They don't just have products for your roof rack, but also your four-wheel drive, camping, hunting, etc. I was lucky enough to walk through with the owner Ben, as well as the engineer Zach, and figure out what was best suited for on top of this roof rack. To up the front to begin with, I wanted a 40-inch light bar. Out of the three brands that they had, Lazer lamps was the one that had the best performance. It also had a very unique looking design for its lenses, which I think will look fantastic at the front of this vehicle. Working our way back, I wanted to mount my MaxTrax directly behind the 40-inch light bar. I prefer it right at the front going east-west, as I think that looks very traditional, like a touring setup. Behind this was my solar panels, which in my specification, they didn't have in stock. So that's a job for another day. Finally, down the side of the roof rack, I wanted to install a 270-degree awning. They had two brands in mind, the Darche 270-degree Eclipse or the Bush Company 270-degree freestanding. You save $1,000 by going with the Darche, and it's a lot lighter. However, you do need to put the poles down in winds above 30 kilometers an hour. Anyway, enough chit chat, I better get started. The first job is removing the windbreak at the very front of the roof rack. A really good product, as I got zero wind noise going down the highway. However, it's blocking the space that's required for the 40-inch light bar, which in itself will be its own windbreak. So as you can see, it fits just nicely. However, it does feel like a bit of a case of my eyes are too big for my stomach kind of situation. There's a fair bit of room in there, which means we should be able to mount it in a way that's not going to interfere with the roof line. However, with the original mounting brackets that they come with, it's quite a cool little T-slot design that goes in the top. However, when it's sort of mounted up and then flips down, it spaces it down way too much. So we can't go with that option. Actually, I just tested out before if I mounted it up on top of the roof rack, and it looked pretty cool, but I do love the idea of that being a great little windbreak. It's also protected there from any tree branches or anything like that, plus the height of the vehicle if I go into a car park. It's just, I don't know, I like the look of it there. It's gonna obviously create a bit of a shadow from the roof line. As the higher up it goes, it's gonna probably interfere or reflect off the bonnet. So that's the place I want it to be mounted. However, we need to come up with a solution that it doesn't interfere with the roof or the sunroof. So it came actually with two different brackets. The other one that it comes with is for side mounting. So that's it there. Pretty normal sort of design bracket, which actually mounts on the side. I tested, because the width of the light bar is a bit of a problem. Well, not a problem, it fits in the space, but obviously the length of this front panel here only goes up to a certain point, which is where the light bar actually ends. So if I spin it in facing inwards, then the issue is that the bolt head that's on top of this then spaces down the light bar into the second hole, and then obviously that then collides with the roof of the car. So we need to spin it on the outside, which is all good, except then we run out of space on this front T-slot on the front runner rack. So if I drill a hole into this front plank here, we can sort of set it back a bit further than this front T-slot. So this bracket that comes out from the light bar is actually just that little bit too long. So if I just trim a little bit off with the angle grinder, this is actually working out really well in that the nut is going to be hidden inside of this plank once this end cap or this corner cap goes on, which is just once again helping with the theft of product on the front of your vehicle. So I'll get this down, I'll sort of mark where I need to drill the hole, and then I'll cut this mounting rail. Okay, there you go. That's now installed at its highest point on the rack. It actually worked out really well. It's nice and secure. I do feel like it took me way too long to get those side security nuts on without the right tool. So you can see that, yeah, there's a decent amount of room. I'll just open the sunroof so we can just double check. Excellent. Seems like with that wind guard there, it still doesn't touch. All right, well, that's that project done. I'll wire that up another day because we're starting to run out of sunlight. Okay, now that we've finished the light bar, we're moving our way back to the MaxTrax. We've got these MaxTrax flat rack mounts. So what I've worked out so far is that it can't go all the way forward to the front slot here. So we're gonna have to pick this second row here. I think we don't want to come this far back over 2 racks. There is the ability to take one of these planks off and move it forward. However, at the moment it looks pretty nice laid out the way it is. So I think I'll just commit to having 2 of these center points screwed down. There you go, pretty straightforward. It's just the 2 brackets on this one plank. I could have moved the plank further forward. We might do that once I get the solar installed because it probably isn't necessary. But for the moment, it feels pretty solid. So we'll just install the 2 that I have for the moment. As easy as that. Down the track I'll obviously get 2 more. It'll raise the height and probably look better in photos. So I guess I'll get those padlocks that that MaxTrax sell, and I'll fasten them down so no one nicks off of them. Hey guys, welcome back to day 2. As you probably noticed, while I was installing those MaxTrax brackets, it started to get dark, so I thought I'd wait until today so you could see what I'm up to. The next step is actually installing this 270-degree awning, which these are the brackets that they come with, and the instructions say that they should actually mount underneath the rack, which in this case actually causes a problem, as these mounting feet that mount to the car are actually in the way for the front and rear positions of this awning. So the solution I came up with is actually to mount it on the top. So the next problem I found when I was up here is that these planks actually sit down lower than the external frame, which is a bit of an issue because then that creates a bit of a gap when it comes to mounting these brackets. So the solution I came up with was I went to my local hardware store and I found these spacer blocks, which I've painted black, which they tell me are actually used to space out windows in homes, and they're actually the perfect height. So I'll jump down, I'll drill some holes in these spacers and install these brackets. Well, there you go, that's all 3 brackets installed. I actually found an issue where the front one was going to collide with the MaxTrax, so I've moved it back to this position and then moved this one back 1 more plank so it's in the middle. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I guess time will tell. Anyway, I'm by myself, so I'm going to try and install this by myself. I've got some straps, so that should do the trick, but we'll see how we go. Well, there you go guys, look at that. Doesn't that look fantastic? The first 3 accessories on my front runner roof rack. It's really starting to look like a touring weapon. Anyway, make sure you do that usual stuff, like, subscribe, all that. I've got a whole bunch of episodes coming up with the build as well as some trips, one to Rybak and also a double island point this weekend. So I'll see you in the next one.